So, we're in day 3, and I'm working on a rewrite right now. And here comes the moment that every fucking writer hates, right? Which is having to, not kill your babies, but having to really change the script a lot. Okay, so let's look here. I'm working on it right now, right? Of course, we're in Final Draft 10. This, by the way, is a little post-it that I cut out because you got the camera right there. And one time, I was working on something and it started recording me out of nowhere. I was like, "What the fuck?" So I don't trust that damn camera. Okay. Anyway, big point here is I'm at the point now where I'm on the 5th draft of this, right? And I got to go out to consultants and I got to go out to coverage services to get a recommend. So the time for playing is over, right? The time for comfortability is over. Comfortability, is that a word? For being comfortable is over. One of the greatest pieces of advice, dude, I'm tongue tied. One of the greatest pieces of advice that you can ever get is get uncomfortable. When you get uncomfortable, you make fucking changes that you never would have made. And it doesn't mean get uncomfortable as in like it means get uncomfortable as in take steps and take risks that you're not comfortable making, because that's what it'll take to get you out of your funk. If you're already an A-list writer or an A-list actor or whatever, then you don't need to get uncomfortable, do you? Because whatever you're doing is working. So if you're not there, then obviously what you're doing is not working, or you could always use a little bit of elevation to it, right? So I'm at this point now where I'm looking at it and it's like, whatever structure you use, whether it's Save the Cat, mini movies, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, sometimes people use Act 4, whatever, or 9 beats, whatever you want to use. I use the mini movie one along with John Truby stuff, but I'm working on the mini movie one right now, and if you're not familiar with it, look it up. It's a really incredible thing by Chris Soth, an amazing guy. Also, if you really want a screenwriting education, go to Screenwriting U, all one word. Screenwriting U with Hal Crosman. Dude, greatest teacher of all time, because he's the only teacher that's going to teach you how to be, not how to be a producer, but how to think like a producer and how to act like a producer and how to see what they want, what they're thinking. You know what I mean? They'll immerse you in it, and they're crazy good with writing. So, anyway, I'm looking at this thing. I can't show you a lot of these things because it's a confidentiality agreement, but here's the main point, right? Like, Feared Alive. Feared Alive. That's the story I'm writing right now. Feared Alive. Crazy story. It's supposed to be, it was originally supposed to be a horror movie, then it was a thriller, and then now it's kind of half and half. But I'm getting a deeper meaning with it the more I write it. But this script, here comes a great piece of advice for rewriting. This script that I'm working on right now is essentially the same one I wrote on the first draft. It was just edited many times. You never want to edit a script until you get to, your wordsmithing into your final draft. Now that could be 10 drafts, 12 drafts, whatever it may be. Obviously you want to edit it, but if you're sending it out to somebody or whatever, but you know what I mean, like edit as in what I used to do before I ever got educated on how to be a screenwriter is I would just look at whatever I had written and fix the words and just focus constantly on words and be like, okay, well this word, this. I never knew that there was a deeper meaning, that there was subtext, that there was all these type of things, right? I never knew that you had to look underneath the surface to really feel what characters are, to really get and understand what they do. So the more I learned about that, the better I got at rewriting. And the biggest point about rewriting is, and I'm guilty of it right now, is that you get, especially on your, like, say your first 10 pages, they're always the hardest to rewrite because they basically set up your whole script. And if you feel like you got a good 10 pages, not quality wise, but you just like the idea and concept, it's so hard to break that shit apart. So right now I'm dealing with the first 15 pages of this thing, and it's like they're the same 15 pages. I've just added a lot of stuff to them, so there's different scenes to it, right? But I know now because I'm looking at it. It's like, okay, is there? So I'm on, like, say you're doing Save the Cat or another thing. Okay, say your first 15 minutes, right, or your first act. Is there anything in there that can be improved, elevated, or that? How's it go? Let's see. Are there any mini movies or acts, whatever you want to call them, that miss the mark or deliver that they miss delivering on the purpose, or that they miss subtext or whatever it may be, right? Because you really want to deal with your big picture items first when you're doing your rewrite. You don't want to deal with characters and all that other shit until later, because man, the foundation is really the most important thing. So, and this is proof of it right here, because I'm on draft 5 and I keep having to fix it, and I say, yeah, I should have just fixed the foundation. I knew the foundation was the big deal. I knew blah blah blah. So now I'm looking at it, and the big thing is I'm going to have to change it, literally change the thing, and it's set up in such a way where it's like the character's ghost, the main character's named Max. Okay, his big ghost, not like a real ghost, but his ghost, the thing that haunts him, his flaw, is that he knew that his brother was dying, but or he didn't know his brother was dying, but he walked out on his brother as he was dying and he was sick, but he thought his brother was fine. He thought it was like faking, or just not faking, but just was not as bad as he was acting like, because the brother gets poisoned. So he just thought it was the flu. And Max is an 18-year-old high school senior, and he just gets with this girl that he's been chasing for 4 years, and so obviously he's running out the door. He's like, man, I gotta go, you know. But he thinks that his brother's got a flu, and then he gives him, like, you know, soup and shit like that, and says, look, call mom, call dad, or call the hospital, I'll help you out, do you need it? And of course the younger brother's like, no, it's fine. And then, like, right as he's leaving, the younger brother dies, and he doesn't notice because, you know, he just looks like he falls asleep. So, of course, when Max gets the word a couple hours later in school that his brother died, he gets pulled out of he screws the girl in an empty classroom, and they get in trouble, obviously, because they get found out. And in the middle of this stunt, his parents, he gets pulled out and he's naked, and his parents are there watching him, and he thinks he's fucked. He's like, oh shit, whatever I did, you fucking bastard principal, you called my parents. And of course, you know, they said, no, we're not here for you, we're here for your brother. You know, and he's like, my brother's not even here today, what are you talking about? And they're like, you know, he's gone. And this type of horrible shit, right? So then, what's my turning point? What's the thing that's going to connect me to Act 2, right? What's going to be a twist? What's going to engage you guys, the readers? What's going to, you know, what's really going to take that? What's the call to adventure, right? You hear that in screenwriting books all the time. What's his call to adventure? It is the brother dying, because this is what Max is a claustrophobic person. He's afraid of being buried alive. I'll explain more about the story. So it is the call to action, but it's weak, even though it's a powerful moment in the script. It's a weak structure point. So it's really hard to be a writer to separate those two, to look at it and know that. It's like, I wish I was just ignorant. Because then ignorance is bliss. You just like, it's fucking. When you read it, it's a powerful moment. You deliver it well. It's powerful. But when you look at the structure, it matters 3 fucking. On page 35, it matters. So it's like my structure point is weak there, which affects the second act in the middle of it. So now I gotta either change it. Well, I'm gonna have to change it because I've done 5 drafts where it stays the same. So I'm going to have to change it, and here's a good way to do it. Make a list of 25 different ways you could do it. And I'm talking about brainstorm the shit out of it. And if you don't know how to brainstorm, just think of the most extreme thing that could happen. Like, look at the scene and say, what's the most extreme thing that could happen? What's the worst thing that could happen to the character? What's the best thing that can happen to the character? Stuff like that. You know, and go through those, and it's not painful. In fact, brainstorming is one of the funnest things. I love the most fun thing, or funnest. I think funnest is a word. It's one of the most fun things. Funnest. What the fuck? Okay, it's a fun thing, right? Brainstorming, because you get to be real creative. So, I suggest to do that, and that's what I'm gonna do. But it's like, I don't want to lose that scene, you know, or how am I going to make that scene appear somewhere else, and blah blah blah, because that's the whole point of the story, is that his brother dies and sends him on this whole thing. So just all writers will know this pain of, you know, what the fuck, you know. I've been sitting here working on this problem